This evening, the Financial Times has offered a blistering critique of Liz Truss's tenure, illuminating the destructive folly of her economic policies and warning against the potential for similar mistakes in the future, especially if Labour were to follow suit and do something stupid. Truss's mini-budget, driven by ideological fervour rather than economic prudence, led to what Dario Perkins famously termed a moron risk premium, essentially signalling to foreign investors that the UK had become a risky and reckless environment for capital. The article rightly contextualises the crisis as a catastrophic event caused by the deliberate dismantling of institutional safeguards. Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng's decision to dismiss the head of the Treasury, ignore the Office for Budget Responsibility and steamroll over fiscal orthodoxy with a credible replacement was an act of hubris bordering on economic vandalism. The ensuing market chaos, the rise of our mortgages, plummeting pounds, soaring government borrowing, and a meltdown in pension funds was the inevitable result of such reckless leadership. The rapid intervention of the Bank of England, which was forced to pivot from quantitative tightening to purchasing government bonds, only highlights the fragility of the situation. The article draws attention to the wider lessons that must be learned from the disaster, both by Labour and the financial sector. And while the Bank of England managed to contain the crisis, the broader systemic failures, such as the UK's pension regulators being caught off guard by liability-driven investment strategies, expose worrying gaps in financial oversight. The collapse of confidence in the UK as a stable investment destination reflects a deeper institutional rot that must be addressed. A particularly biting insight is Sushil Wadhwani's estimate that fiscal policy alone accounted for less than a quarter of the rise in yields, with much of the damage done by Truss's government's attack on institutions and its refusal to heed warnings. This encapsulates the key lesson. Institutions exist to impose rational constraints on policymaking. To bypass or undermine them, as Truss did, is to flirt with economic disaster. As the UK braces for a new budget, therefore, the article rightly cautions Labour against any reckless borrowing without institutional oversight. The central message is clear: economic populism, untethered from institutional checks and realistic forecasts, leads not to growth, but to chaos. Truss's brief and ignominious tenure is a testament to the perils of ideological zeal trumping economic sense, and it serves as a stark warning for the future. In the end, the mini-budget was not just a failure of fiscal policy, but a collapse of trust in governance itself. If Labour, or any future government, were to repeat such monumental error, it would only reaffirm that they too had failed to learn the most basic lessons from the Truss catastrophe. As indeed, Truss has failed to learn herself, and she continues pottering around the place and spewing out her advice. The only advice Truss should give is to go.